All right. Well, what I wanted to talk about today and why I've invited my beautiful family is that I realize that a lot of realtors who have younger to through high school age kids the agent themselves are a little overwhelmed and even have skill sets that their kids could help them with, especially when it comes to computer skills and such. The kids seem to be more in tune with it than the adults. But they're so afraid to engage their kids in it. And we actually engaged you, whether you liked it or not, from a very young age in the business. And I think it actually in some ways probably helped develop your skills as adults too. So I don't think it has to be a negative to engage your kids. It can be a win-win for both the realtor and their kids. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So I'll give a little history for those that are listening in on us. That I started originally, after you guys got out of school, you were helping me hand out flyers throughout the Geo Farm. And that for me was two things. One, it gave us an opportunity to kind of go out and do a little walk together after school. Although you guys actually thought it was fun when you were little. And then it also helped me get through the farming a little quicker because we every week handed out farm materials. But later, when you got into junior high or so, we had you guys go out. Explain how you set that up, Ed.
Well, we set it up that it was just basically they learned how to rollerblade, and
They
really
already
good.
were.
They already were, and so they would go out on their rollerblades. We had our farm set up in 5 different sections, and so they divided it in 2.5 sections, and they both kind of owned those 2.5 sections. And they would go out. They had to do our handouts once every week, and every week of the year. We gave them 1 week off after Christmas. They didn't have to do that. They could usually do it in about an hour or two, I think. They'd usually cut it up into 2 different days after school, and they got paid to do that. But the main thing is if we had a listing in their section, we actually divided it out. We'd give them $50 each for every sale we had in the farm. And over the years, we had hundreds of sales, about 300 or 400 sales in our farm. So a lot of that time, they were making pretty good money just from the sales that we had. And not only did they look at it as extra money, they got excited and they would talk to the people. Sometimes the people in the farm knew them as well as they knew us.
I always got great comments.
We did the door knockings, but they did all the handouts after a while. And it was just a great thing, a great family thing that we brought into the farm.
Now we did have criteria. You guys had to have, what was the criteria that you guys had?
I couldn't remember. We had to wear a collared shirt. You guys got us a bunch of collared shirts, which ended up being our Christmas gifts every year.
Pretty much.
Hey, here's 3 new shirts that are collared shirts that you get to wear for our work. So thank you guys very much for those Christmas gifts. I think we had to stay off the lawns, or if maybe we didn't open gates or something like that. I don't remember. There were obviously some homes that people had asked us to stop delivering to, so we kind of knew which homes those were.
And then I think there was some homes you got to be pretty chummy with the people too, and they looked forward to seeing you.
Oh, sure.
I
We
heard
did
so many
it
great things.
at a similar time every week. Like we knew that whether it was like Tuesdays or Thursdays or whatever, and it was after school and stuff like that. So we probably found or fell into other people's schedules and stuff. But yeah, we definitely got to learn kind of the houses, and I think it was fun for us because we were, to some extent, we were rollerblading. Like that's what we loved doing, and we'd kind of race each other and see how we could do it. And my guess is you did about 75% of the streets or homes that you're supposed to do.
No, we checked. He did.
Just the fact that you had to check says that you had the same suspicions as me.
Yeah. Hey, you guys were very compliant back then. It wasn't until later you became non-compliant.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I like that we had you wear uniforms, and it looks like you did it again today.
Yeah,
Nice.
So, Casey, I think one of your favorite parts was we also included you guys in some of our big events, like the ice cream truck and handing out pumpkins. I think that was one of your favorites, was it not?
It was interesting. It was definitely a memorable experience, right? They turn our garage into, we'd have 500 pumpkins. You show up and all of a sudden the cars are pulled out and there's 500 pumpkins in the garage, and it's our job to individually wash those, put those into the car, and then eventually wash them and hand them to the clients. So I would have just sap and like stab wounds from
splinters from the stems.
Yeah. But it was a very memorable and interesting event, and it's fun to go and just hand pumpkins to a bunch of people. It's fun because a lot of what you're doing with the flyers, you're handing out flyers, and it's there's some marketing interest to that, but most people aren't super excited to get a piece of paper. But the pumpkin thing, people are pretty excited about, so it was fun to be a part of something that you knew people looked forward to and was part of the community, and you got to be the face of that. So that was fun.
I think you guys did a good job of gamifying it too. Like, we made it kind of a thing. Hey, we get to do pumpkins night. I mean, now that I've got younger daughters, I know that, like, if you tell them that doing something, going on a walk is going on a walk and get excited, or if you tell them they have to walk half a mile, the way that you kind of present it determines what their attitude is towards it. And I think you guys did a good job of kind of gamifying it, getting us excited about doing that. And then you go back to the $50 per listing. $50 back then to me was like, that was a lot of money. Like, I remember when we got a listing, we were pretty pumped. Like, it was a big pay raise, and it didn't affect my performance. I couldn't do a better job. I couldn't hand out more, like, all I was doing was a job every week, but it definitely, when those would just kind of surprise, there's a new listing, we didn't even know about it. When it would sell, it was kind of up to you guys to let us know, but getting that extra $50 and stuff was really fun, and we could go get new rollerblade wheels so that we could then wear them down for your work. Now that I'm thinking about
Dry cleaning bills so we can get those shirts cleaned.
Yeah. This is a racket that you guys had. This is really good. So you're trying to teach people how to racket your kids. Good job.
So one thing you probably need to explain, viewers would know this, but the ice cream truck was something we did every year in August. And what we did was we rented an ice cream truck. We packed it with ice cream. We put signs up there, about Regency Real Estate, Ed and Angie Wright, big banners, and then we just went through the neighborhood and handed out free ice cream. We'd hand out flyers ahead of time. You guys would hand out flyers announcing the date, and then we'd have hundreds of people come out and we just give ice cream out. Mm-hmm. It was always a big day, and usually it was really warm. We even had, for the kids that would come out with bare feet, we had water to put down so they wouldn't get too,
So
we got it down. But that was a lot of fun. You guys were part of that too, and it was just, I gotta tell you, it was a lot of fun.
Right.
And a lot of work too.
Yeah, and I think we did try to gamify it. Like, even after a hard day's work, we'd try and do something fun afterwards or something. So that is the things we tried to do. Now, as you guys got older, though, you started working for us in the office actually during the summer months, especially
because nobody else would hire us.
You guys had jobs. Remember Juice Stop?
Yeah.
You guys did a lot of juices,
But Corey, I remember you became the master bow designer for our client gifts. You were really good at making bows.
I think that was Casey.
Oh, was it? No, it was you, Corey.
No.
You're the artist.
Yeah.
But
Casey didn't have enough patience for that, trust me.
That's true.
But Casey, I remember we were contracting for an e-newsletter, which was very kind of new back in that time frame. And you were such a good writer and going to school as a journalism major that you actually took on the task of doing the e-newsletter. And that actually developed into you guys' early first business together as entrepreneurs after you both graduated college. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I don't know what you want me to say. You kind of said it all. So, yeah.
So, well, what did you do with your business and how did it evolve? Like, you were doing it for us and other realtors liked what you were doing within our office. So you started actually selling it to agents in the office.
Right. Yeah, well, you guys are one of the first ones to really get onto email marketing within the real estate space. I know a lot of other businesses have been doing it. So there was a pretty well-worn roadmap for how to effectively market via email, but nobody in real estate was using it. I think you guys saw that opportunity.
Yeah.
And so I came in and I kind of fused a little bit of the knowledge that I had from how other industries are doing it with seeing what you guys are doing, and just really more than that, just putting a lot of work into it. And it was the first project I think that I really cared about and kind of put my own personal stamp of excellence on it in terms of like professionally, because it did feel like it was something that was equally ours. That it was yours, but it was also something I was really working on and taking ownership of it. And then over time, like it started working really well, and I think people started saying to me that the thing with email is the ROI on it's so high, right? When you start sending out emails, it's basically free, as cheap as it is to have your children using slave labor to hand out paper flyers. It's not as cheap as email, right? But at any rate, so that it was great, and you guys started seeing some really good returns on it. And I think some of your other friends and colleagues in the office started approaching and saying, "Hey, will your kids do the same thing for us?" And so I didn't know any better, so I just started saying yes, and eventually that kind of turned into a business. Yeah.
Well, and what I loved with what you guys did, though, you took it from the space that we kind of started, which is let's send out a little e-newsletter, once a month or week or whatever it was we were doing back then. And you took it and made it more engaging and entertaining, recognizing that not everybody is in buy-sell mode, so you can't just all talk about real estate. And you really developed wonderful content, but then you tied it into the website. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, technology evolves. So sending PDF attachments back in 2004 was acceptable. It still wasn't even really cutting edge. It was acceptable, but at some point that no longer became acceptable. And so we had to evolve the technology and the service. And again, it was something that had kind of been a side project for Casey to help you guys out, then came into the point where we were really, what we launched the first part of the business was just going to agents' homes and like setting up distribution lists and Outlook and basically organizing their database so that they could, and running campaigns to help them collect email addresses, organize email addresses, and have the ability to send content. We realized that then when they had a virus on their computer 2 weeks later, we were getting the call because we were their computer guy now, and that wasn't the business that we wanted to be in. And like you said, Casey enjoys writing and is a really talented writer. And I remember the call that you gave me that said, hey, I think the opportunity here isn't in the database stuff, but I do think this is here to stay. And I think if we could provide the content, that we could then go out and we can provide basically the blueprint for people organizing, collecting email addresses, organizing their database, and then that kind of becomes giving them the free printer, and then we sell them the ink, which is the content every week that we can go out. And I told them, I remember asking, I said, you think you can create a new piece of content every single week? And but that's kind of where content marketing was at the day, you know, like it wasn't as freely available, and there wasn't as much information. This is 2004. Email still got 100% open rates. That's the other thing. Like email 15 or 16 years ago was kind of like text messages are now, where we're very familiar with the technology, but they're still also it's not quite flooded the way that email has become flooded. And so that's kind of what ended up, that was kind of our path to launching the business, and then it became a lot of just kind of training and using the technology again as the lead for the content that we ultimately ended up selling in the marketing side.
So I just want to let you guys know what I started as your dad, okay? My poorly written emails that Casey didn't like, that he wanted to wordsmith from the time you were in high school, started into your business together, and 15 years of business, and
you
5
can probably
years.
actually go back like 38 years ago for me and 39 years ago for him. You had also an impact on that part of our life too.
Yeah, just a bit.
We both did.
But anyway, I mean, the idea now you guys have, you know, a company that has, you know, 5, 6 different divisions in it. It's worldwide, a lot of different areas, a lot of different spaces, doing really, really well. And as you know, Mom and Dad, we're so proud of you guys, what you did. But we want credit. It all started with my crummy little email that needed some help.
I think it really started with when you spend your entire childhood as a slave laborer. you really want to find a way to provide for yourself early on in life, and so I think we were tremendously motivated. So I would argue
that the email newsletters are the least significant thing that we've ever done in life, and so that 6 or 7 year period of our life was actually a gap that we could have actually started our true successes 7 years earlier had it not been for you with some stilly, meaningless email newsletter idea. So
this is just another example of how kids rewrite history of reality, what the parents really gave them, but they rewrite the history to be so different.
Well, the good news is you'll be gone and you won't be able to argue that at some point, so we can write it any way that we want, and that's how
it's
we'll
written by the
remember.
victors, right? The people who stay alive.
So.
Okay, so bringing it back, is there anything that, do you see any value in having worked with us early on? Because your early businesses were all real estate related. You had grown up in that culture and were able to go into that space in a really productive way that wasn't out there at the time. There are people that have come into that space today, and you guys have moved well beyond
I think
that.
seeing you guys as entrepreneurs and seeing you guys how you ran your business, I think that had a bigger impact than us actually coming and putting bows together or whatever. We were always we enjoyed working, you're right. We leveraged some of those networks and those connections that we had, and that was kind of an easier path to get into a specific industry. But I think seeing you guys, the way that you guys work, the way that you guys were always innovating in the real estate space. I mean, you guys were doing geographic farms before they were a thing. You guys were building a team with full-time transaction coordinators and marketing staff before anybody ever thought to actually bring on and build teams. You guys, just in kind of the door knocking and some of that stuff, you guys, when we talk about kind of how we did content marketing, made the newsletters, the weekly stuff more fun and engaging and not just all about promoting yourselves, you guys had that already, had that kind of that way of using your marketing. I think Casey and the company that we built was able to accelerate on that, but I think that's more what the value was, not necessarily the specific inroads that working for you guys during the summer taught me skills that helped me go launch a business later. I think it was more watching you guys and growing up in a family like that. So
Yeah, no one would hire us, so we needed to start our own business. I mean, if you think about it, most real estate businesses or realtors, they came from something else. They didn't go, in elementary school, you say, what do you want to be? And you say, doctor, nurse, attorney, something like that. You don't say real estate agent. No one says that. And it usually is a turn later in life that gets you there. And so it was the perfect business for us. Once we got into it, we loved it immediately. And 4 years later, I brought Mom into it. But it wasn't my childhood dream.
It apparently wasn't theirs either.
Well, their childhood dream was to do anything but real
real
estate.
estate.
And yet, interesting enough, they touched on it later. They're still not obviously completely in that space, but they've been related to that space. So,
You're gonna say?
I was gonna say, maybe this isn't appropriate, but becoming a real estate agent is kind of like becoming a teen mom. It's never like your first plan, but you end up loving the kid and enjoying everything that happens from there. So
actually, that's explained it really, really well.
So, any final thoughts?
No, I mean, thank you guys for being a great, like I said, I think for being a great example. And the other thing I can say is when we were very closely tied to the real estate space, it was nice to be able to go anywhere and have people say, I know you, I knew your dad back in the day, or I did a deal with your parents, and never have to worry about, is that going to be a positive or a negative thing? You guys really put just a level of integrity into everything that you guys did that I think showed us how to launch a business, but also put us in a space where we never had to worry about kind of what your name meant if we were closely tied to that. So I just want to thank you guys for that too.
Yeah, no, I agree. The other thing I'd say is I think you guys are really good about compartmentalizing the professional relationship we had and the familial relationship we had, right? Like you treated us like employees when we were in that, and in good and bad ways. I think you were fair, you had expectations for us, and I think that's important because I think it's very easy to let a familiar relationship that has professional ties get confused. And if you're a kid and your first experience of a professional relationship is one that has all these weird kind of mess of emotional entanglements and things like that, and it's not really clear where business ends and personal starts, that can be a really confusing and I think disorienting first professional experience to have. I think you guys are really intentional about making sure that we had a very positive professional experience that modeled what a good work environment looks like. And I think that would be one caution that I would kind of issue to people working with their children is when they're at the office or when they're under your employee, you have to treat them like you would your team members and all the inherent responsibilities that go along with that.
Right. The class that you took, Corey, for your MBA program that was family business.
Okay, I was gonna say I took more than one class to get
Oh
my
yeah,
MBA.
yeah. Yeah. But anyway, I don't know how you got it, but you got it. But that class, and they invited family members to it. And Mom and I went to it a few times. I think you did too, Casey. Brought up a lot of things about family business. And it's a great thing as long as you get the fundamentals right and you learn how to do it. And one of the things I learned early on, I don't know early on enough, but I remember when you guys launched your business and we were your first board of directors because you couldn't afford anybody else. And so, in fact, we would not only work for free, we'd go out and usually do it at a restaurant and pay for the lunch. But
that was your key contribution.
But I remember at one of our early meetings, I started in this dad mode about, I've been around for so long and I know exactly what you guys should do and things like that. And I started treating you like my kids again. And I remember driving home that day and I really felt bad. I called both of you later and said, I promise from now on, I won't do that anymore. From now on, I'm not going to be in dad mode. And I'll treat you just like I treat all the other people on the boards I serve. And you got to kind of learn that. It's the same thing with Mom. I had to come home, from work. She started 4 years later. We had, as you know, 3 full-time assistants and 1 part-time assistant because we were doing a lot of real estate.
But I was the first.
Yeah, but she was the first. Actually, you and Marlene about the same time. But when she came on, and I would treat her kind of like, the idea that you're one of the people I work with, and she was saying, no, I'm your wife all the time. I'm your wife 24/7, and so I deserve that respect. And she had to kind of, and then there's times she'd say, well, you wouldn't talk to everybody else in the team like you talk to me, and I had to correct that too. So there's lessons to be learned. If you can learn them from others, then that's the best way to learn them, because we finally got to, and all these things are a great place, but everything wasn't perfect along the way. So.
Well, and I'm going to say, I can't think of a greater dream as a parent than being able to work with their
Oh.
family in business, not having to be gone for 10 hours a day and not see everybody, but we got to see each other so much more. But like you said, it does have its dynamics, but that have to be navigated. But the greatest joy in my life has been watching the two of you guys just go on and thrive so big in the business world and just be such great human beings, not only in business, but also just in the way you give back. And I just really, the Thankful Thursday that you guys started, just so many things that you've done that just show what awesome people you
Being
are.
a big
And
brother, and just all the
Yeah.
things. You guys are always there.
I just
Well, I didn't really
really-
have a choice, but
Actually, I think it was your idea to start with, but you were the big
Kidding,
brother
right?
idea, you were the
Big
Thankful Thursday, but
So, at
doesn't,
any rate,
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I got it. Anyway, Corey was a big brother
Still is.
is a volunteer position, and Casey was a big brother by birth. So
Yeah.
that was what was being said.
Okay.
Anyway, so thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you being here today and sharing in this way, and hopefully encouraging others to work with their kids in business a little bit. So thank you.